I never thought that these words would leave my mouth, but squatters are kind of trending right now, I guess. I mean, it seems like everywhere I look, I find another story about some group of people who have illegally moved into a vacant house, usually in California. Just saying, usually in California. But today's story is the most ultimate twist to this whole squatter situation. There's a handyman out there named Flash Shelton who has found a loophole in the law where if he becomes a squatter by moving in with squatters, then he can actually get them out of the houses where they're squatting.
1,200 homes have been squatted in the city.
Unfortunately, some of these squatters have gotten pretty sophisticated.
It's just an incredibly confusing thing to think. You go on vacation, somebody trespasses and enters your home, starts living in it, and then you legally can't do anything about it, like call the cops and say somebody's in my house?
Hi, my name is Flash Shelton. I'm the founder of the United Handyman Association, and I also opened up squatterhunters.com, where we help people that need to get their squatters out.
This is a lot to process. There's a lot going on here. Let's get into it. So this all started in Northern California. There's a guy named Flash who we're going to talk about here in a second. His mother was trying to sell her house. I guess Flash's father had recently passed away, so the mom moved out. The house was sitting vacant. She listed the house on the market to try to sell it. And one day the real estate agents showed up to the house to go do a showing or whatever they were going to do. And they arrived to find some people who were living in the house and the house full of furniture. So they call up Flash's mom to say, hey, who are these people who are living in the house? And she's like, I have no idea. I didn't rent it out to anybody. Well, that's when the mother reaches out to her son Flash and says, hey, can you help me out here? I don't know what to do about this situation. In general, what you read about online and what you hear about online is that if you're stuck in a situation like this where squatters have moved into your house, especially in California, then it's going to be really hard to get them out because you can't just go there and tell them to leave. You can't call the police because normally the police aren't going to be able to really do anything about this. So from what I understand, it ends up turning into this whole thing where you have to go to court and file a bunch of paperwork, and you basically end up needing to evict these squatters almost as if they're tenants. So anyways, Flash does all this research himself. He determines that yes, it looks like these squatters probably do have rights. They probably are allowed to just occupy this random house, but if these squatters have the rights to go just squat into his mom's house, then why wouldn't he have the same rights to go just also start squatting there and kind of like use that as a tool or a catalyst to help get the squatters out?
I called local law enforcement, and as soon as they saw that there was furniture in the house, they said that I had a squatter situation and they had basically no jurisdiction and they couldn't do anything. So I dissected the laws over a weekend. I basically figured out that until there's civil action, the squatters didn't have any rights. So if I could switch places with them, become the squatter myself, I would assume those squatter rights.
This is a very creative way to look at the situation, to say the least. And he actually took it a step further and gave himself even more rights than the squatter had. Because since this was his mom's house, Flash was not an owner of this house at all. So what he did was he drafted up a lease between his mom and himself. So now he was a tenant of his mom, who's the owner of the property, which, like I said, that gives him even more rights.
The law would prevent me from physically removing them. However, being that I wasn't the homeowner, I had more rights. As a tenant, I would actually have more rights than them. So if they were there, then I would have just entered the home with a lease in hand. I would have just shown them the lease. I would have walked past them and said, I don't know what you're doing, but I'm moving in. This is my house now. And I probably would have just done anything and everything I could to make it miserable for them so that they left on their own.
All he had to do at this point was go out to California and move into the house. Now, I'd be a little bit freaked out to do this if I was him, because if someone's squatting in your house, then we can probably assume that they're not in the best place in life. Like, at a bare minimum, they're probably broke, but who knows? They might be a criminal, they might be on drugs. You really don't know. But Flash is a savage. He doesn't care. He goes out to California. He parks his car right down the street from his mom's house, and he kind of just stakes out there and watches what's going on for a couple of days and pays attention to like who's coming and who's going and stuff. He does start to notice that there's some trends and there's some people who are usually leaving the house in the morning hours, so he figures maybe that means that those people are going to work or whatever. So one morning he decides to make his move and move into his mom's house while the squatters aren't there.
You know, I'd like to say that these are not people that are homeless. They're not looking for a place to live. In all of the cases that I have worked with so far, it's a criminal type. It's a self-entitled group of people that that the laws are allowing to go in. I mean, it's like this because the interpretation of the laws the way they are, that were never intended to allow people to take over residential maintained properties in the first place, is telling them that they can move in even when somebody goes on vacation. In a situation I've dealt with, move in, there's no fine, there's no penalty, there's no restitution.
Now he's gotten inside, which wasn't all that hard. I mean, he has a key to the house, but once he gets inside, he discovers stuff all over the place in every room. Like, these tenants legit full on moved into the house. Their stuff was completely unpacked and everywhere. And he spent the next couple hours just changing the locks, installing security cameras, putting in an alarm system, and he even put the utilities in his name. At this point, his plan is fully in motion. Like, Flash is a legal tenant of his mother's. He lives in the house, he's all settled in, he's even receiving mail here at this point. And he wanted all of this furniture and crap that was inside of the house gone, like immediately. We're talking the same night. And he came up with kind of a unique strategy on how he was gonna get all of this furniture out of the house quick.
I saw a couple young guys across the street, big, strong guys. I walk over and I'm like, hey, you know, do you guys need any furniture? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, well, look, I said, I got a house full of furniture over here that if she doesn't get this stuff out by midnight tonight, you can, if you help me get it out, if you help me drag it out to the driveway, it's yours. You can have absolutely anything you want for free. And they're like, sure, awesome, you know. So I already had them lined up.
So now we've got living in the house, like not even a full day, but he full on lives there. Like, he has moved in and settled in. And at this point, he's basically just waiting for the squatters to get home so he can confront them. These squatters did get back. David was sitting there waiting, and believe it or not, they're actually pretty chill.
When they came back, I just laid it out for them, told them that it was all locked up, cameras, and the only way they would get back in the house is if they broke in on camera, and I would prosecute. And I told them they had a day to get their stuff out, or the furniture was not theirs anymore.
I'm really sorry about all this. I really am. It's just, it's a nightmare beyond.
I've got guys scheduled to come take the stuff out later today, so.
But we're gonna, load by load, take it out of here.
Okay, well, yeah, I mean, at this point, I have no choice. I just need to.
I understand. I would be in
I mean, I was overwhelmed by the amount of stuff when I pulled in here. When I pulled in here yesterday, I mean, I didn't expect all this.
Yeah, so that's my fault. That is all of it. I should have paid better attention. That's beside the point. We just need to get it done and taken care of because it
so just
make the right.
Do what you can to get it out. Like I said, I mean, I have to start putting stuff in the driveway, and so that I can lock it up, because once I leave, you're not going to be able to get back in.
You can tell that this lady is a good lady deep down inside. She probably just came onto some hard times. If you're in that situation and you're facing some hard times, there's probably better things to do than just move into some stranger's house. The situation reminds me a little bit of that YouTube channel called Soft White Underbelly. If you guys haven't seen his videos, check him out. He basically interviews all kinds of people who have fallen onto hard times, just like gotten into drugs or became homeless or whatever. And what you can tell if you listen to a few of this guy's podcasts is that the people that he's interviewing might be considered like bad people on the surface, but deep down inside, a lot of them are actually good people with good hearts that maybe just got wrapped up in the wrong group of friends, or maybe just grew up in the wrong neighborhood. So this initial story actually came out about a year ago, but it's getting a bunch more attention now because, for one, there's just a bunch of squatter stories that have come out recently, and for two, Flash has been doing kind of like a bunch of press or whatever lately. Like, he's been showing up on a bunch of news channels and talking about his services that he's offering, which we'll talk about here in a second. Check it out. Some of those clips that we watched today was from Flash's YouTube channel. It's called Outside the Box with Flash. Go check him out if you guys are into this type of content. He's posting a lot of videos, especially lately, but if we go to popular and we look at this one, this here is the video that has gotten him the most amount of attention for sure. It's called How I Remove Squatters in Less Than a Day. And this video has got a lot of people talking. It's got over 25,000 comments. Like this one here says, what boggles my mind is that when someone loses their home to the bank, police and sheriffs are present to evict the homeowner, but they won't do anything to evict the squatters who are not even homeowners. This guy says that it's a joke that criminals have more rights than law-abiding citizens, which I agree. Like, I'm trying to figure out who out there in the world is giving these squatters rights. Like, I can't really imagine on either side of the fence, Republican or Democrat or whatever, like what lawmaker is thinking that it's actually a good idea to give squatters rights? I don't know. If you guys know, let me know down in the comments, but I have no clue who would be in support of this. Dad Lifts 007 says, if you break into an empty house, it's a felony. If you bring all of your stuff and stay, the cops can't touch it. Got it. There's a lot of people who are saying, Flash, great job for staying so chill, especially because he was going in here and kicking people out who were taking advantage of his mother, who was grieving at the time. And what I'm gathering from all the people showing up in the comments who are realtors and attorneys and stuff like that, the consensus seems to be that if any of us are in a situation like this in the future, where we're gonna have a house that's gonna be sitting vacant for a little while, we need to put all the right precautions in place, like putting security cameras in the front and the back side of the house. You should make sure that no one can just call and put utilities in their name without having a special PIN code or passcode. And it's a good plan too to just have your neighbors engaged and make sure that they know that you own this house and it's going to be sitting vacant for a little while. And if they could just kind of keep an eye out for you, that could go a long way too. Now, I wasn't able to figure out what Flash's full-time job even is at the moment. His Instagram says that he's a public figure, an anti-squatter activist, a squatter hunter, founder of the United Handyman Association, and host of that YouTube channel that we looked at earlier.
Treat them like what they are. They are trespassers. Until you give them rights, they're trespassers, they're not squatters. People trying to squat aren't actually squatters until you empower them. Let's get your squatters out.
He has this website, squatterhunters.com, and this page is dedicated to basically anyone out there who has squatters in their house and they need help. You can actually go to Flash through clicking one of these buttons, and he'll do a Zoom consultation with you, and he'll actually maybe offer to help get those squatters out of your house by doing the same thing that he did with his mom's house. If we go to the About tab, we got a little bio about Flash, which we already know a good amount about him. And look, if we go down here, he actually has a team. Like, Flash is one of the removers. He has this guy, Dylan, who's also a remover. And then he even has this guy, Mike, hired, who does, I guess, just investigation and research, probably to figure out, like, maybe who these squatters are or who the owner is or what the laws are in that particular area where they're going to remove the squatters, because that is the tricky part about what he's doing is the rules and laws are going to differ for sure based on where the house is located. Flash also does have a GoFundMe, which is to help contribute to changing the squatter laws. I don't know Flash personally. I don't know anything about this fundraiser, so I'm not telling you guys to go and put your money into this or anything, but I just wanted to put it out there that he's raised 10 grand already. He's looking to raise 25,000, and apparently this money is going to help rewrite the laws that would allow law enforcement to basically do their job and get squatters out of homes faster. Seems like that's the general idea here. So yeah, check this thing out if you guys are interested in supporting Flash. Absolutely wild story, but that's a wrap for today's episode. Make sure you hit the like button down below before you go if you could. That really helps the channel out a lot. And don't forget to hit subscribe as well. It says only like 20% of the people who watch my videos are actually subscribed. So hit that button down below before you go if you're not already subscribed. I'll see you guys next week.